Hi there, my name is Edsel Villadaz, and I am a success engineer here at Xplenty. We provide an ETL platform that is available in the Elements Marketplace, which allows you to create automated data pipelines running to and from Heroku Postgres. In this video, I will show an example of how customers that use Heroku Connect can leverage Xplenty to quickly and easily extend the benefits of Heroku Connect's bidirectional sync to Salesforce out to external services and data stores. So I have an app set up with Heroku Connect provisioned along with Heroku Postgres database. This is connected to my Salesforce org and has been set up to sync a few select objects down to Postgres that I maybe want to bring external data into, or take data that's come from Salesforce and send that out via Xplenty to an external data warehouse or data lake, or even a flat file for a partner or customer. So let's jump into Xplenty from here by clicking on the Xplenty app. Alternatively, we can set up some logins and head over to xplenty.com and access it that way. So what I will be working through is a really simple use case of having budget data in regards to a few of the accounts that are being reached out to over at Mysql Database, as well as a flat file in an S3 that contains current exchange rates. So what we're going to do is use those two sources. We're going to go ahead and convert foreign currency into USD, and we are going to push that data over into Salesforce. All right, so first things first is we are going to have to build out our connections, and I'll just go ahead and press the new connection button here. And as you can see, this brings up a list of our native connectors. We have the ability to connect to relational databases like MySQL and Postgres, as well as the ability to connect to a few API services such as Facebook and YouTube. We have the ability to connect to data warehouses as well, such as BigQuery. And we are not limited to the amount of connectors that you see here. We do utilize a REST API component, so really most things that have an API built on top of it, we will be able to access. So we'll go ahead and choose Heroku Postgres here. As you can see, there are a few fields that we just have to fill in here. So we'll go ahead and give it a name. Now we have two access types that we can utilize here. We have the direct connection, as well as a tunnel connection that we can set up in order to connect to this database. Now what we just need is the host name, and if we have SSL set up, which we do have for Heroku Postgres, we want to ensure that we go ahead and check this box here. All right, after that we'll go ahead and enter our database name, and then after that we'll go ahead and insert our username and password. All right, and once we have everything filled out, you see that there is a test connection button here. So we'll just go ahead and test the connection. Great, it looks like everything tested successfully. So we'll go ahead and create this connection. All right, now one more database we need is our MySQL database. So we'll go ahead and build a connection to that. So same thing here, really similar in the case that we have to fill out a few fields. And it's really similar in that we need the host name, the database name, the username, and password. Just go ahead and fill those in. And once we have these filled out, we can go ahead and test connection again. And great, another successful test. So we'll go ahead and create connection. All right, we have one more to set up here, which is our S3 connection. So we'll go ahead and choose Amazon S3. And for S3, all we'll need is to give it a name, select the proper region, give it our access key and our secret. So we'll just go ahead and do that. And once we have everything filled in here, we can again test the connection. Great, and we can create the connection. And that is everything in terms of building a connection. So from here, we'll go ahead and build out our pipeline by going into our packages. Just hit the little package icon on the left toolbar here and hit the new package button on the right. So we'll go ahead and give this package a name. We can also add a description if you'd like. And we'll choose our type of flow here. Now we have two flows that we can choose from here at XPlenty, and they are data flows and workflows. So a data flow is what we would use to build our standard data pipeline. Now the workflows are a bit different in that this is where you can set up the order in which you want packages to run and set dependencies between these packages. And I'll go over workflows more in detail in part 2 of this video series. All right, so moving on, we'll create package. And we are brought over to our blank slate here. So at the top, we can go ahead and hit add component. And here you can see that we have a few choices as far as our sources go. We have our file stores, our database. You can see our REST API component there. NetSuite, for example. So for this, we'll go ahead and choose database. And our UI is all drag and drop. So once you have a component in, you can just drag it wherever you'd like. You just double click to open. Let's go ahead and rename this since we're setting this up to be our MySQL source component. We'll go ahead and just choose MySQL connection from the drop down there and hit next. So on step 2, we have 2 access modes. These access modes are table and queries. So with table, all we would have to do is specify the schema name and the table name, and that'll know which table to put in. We can also include where clauses in the table access mode. And alternatively, we have the query access mode, which allows us to just run a entire SQL query in order to hit that data. So for example, we'll go ahead and choose table, and if we leave the schema name blank, it'll just use the default schema. And if we'll go ahead and enter our table name here. Okay, and we'll go ahead and no where clause for this example. We'll go ahead and scroll down and hit next. Okay, once we hit next, step 3 is just a matter of choosing the fields that we would like to bring in. And here you also get a little data preview of the table. Great feature, I think, because then it gives us a little quick insight into exactly what we're going to be pushing into XPlenty, and just to make sure we have the correct table with the correct fields. For the fields, we can either just go ahead and bring them in individually, depending on need, or we can just select every single field and bring them all in at once. So we'll go ahead and do that and click Save. Next, we will add another source component here, and this one being a file store, since we would like to access our Amazon S3. So bring that in, we'll just drag it over, and we'll go ahead and rename this to S3. Go ahead and hit Next, and the S3 component is a bit different in which that we have to specify the source bucket and the source path. So go ahead and enter our source bucket and the path to the file we'd like to bring in here. Awesome. And once we have that, we have a few options that we can play around with as well. We want the record to be delimited every new line or just at the end of line. We have different record types that we can pull in via the source component as well. And we can choose our delimiter depending on the format of our file. Choose our string qualifiers as well. I'm going to go ahead and leave this first row contains field names checked, and a few source action options that we can choose as well. Let's go ahead and hit Next. And again, similar to the MySQL Database source component, we get a quick preview of what our tables will look like here. So everything looks good. One thing I do want to point out here as well is that you can change the data types. As you can see, the currency code is coming in as a string, there is coming in as a float, but we can just change those data types accordingly on this level as well. All right, so Now to add some transformations. As you can see here, we have a few transformations to choose from. Most of these, except for the select component up here, are going to be no-code transformations, meaning that all you have to do is just punch in a few inputs and you'll be good to go. Let me show you what that would look like here by using the join component. We'll go ahead and drag that over to the middle. And to connect between components, we just drag and drop. All right, so let's go ahead and open this up. As you can see, we can define what is on the left or the right of this join. We can also define the join type. We have our left joins, right joins, full joins, inner joins, of course. Join optimization, default, which uses a hash join. We have a replicated or skewed as well. Here we will join on currency code. Go ahead and hit, actually let's rename this to left join on currency code. Actually it's right there, so let me just click it. All right, and we'll go ahead and save it. And here we could add another transformation. We'll go ahead and do the select, which is our low code component, and this will allow us to do transformations at the field level. And we'll go ahead and hit autofill, and we will start performing our field level transformations. Let me go ahead and open up the expression editor. All right, and now we have the expression editor open. As you can see on the left-hand side, we have a variety of functions all organized into folders. We have 150 functions to be exact, actually, all ranging from string functions to cast functions and things like that. So for this example, we're going to go ahead and use the round function. And as you can see, when I highlight over the function name, it gives me a quick description of what it does and the parameters it accepts and exactly how many we would need to put in here. So let me go ahead and click round. Go ahead and just add in our parentheses. And here we can, on this level, we can actually also perform mathematical functions, for example, doing this divide. So we're going to go ahead and divide the budget field by the rate. Go ahead and close off the parenthesis there, hit save. There we go. So now on this budget field here, we're going to divide that by rate and we're going to round it. Awesome. And then we'll go ahead and take a currency code. We only need one, so let me get rid of that one there. And over on the left-hand side, since we're changing all of the currency to USD, I'm just going to go ahead and fill this entire column with USD. And we'll go ahead and rename the column to this currency code. I'll go ahead and hit save. We'll need to, actually, let me go ahead and change the name here also to conversion. Go ahead and hit save. And we'll go ahead and add our destination component finally. So as you can see, we have a number of options in regards to destination as well. So for this example, we'll go ahead and choose database. And we'll open it up. We'll rename this to Postgres, since we're sending it to Heroku Postgres. We'll go ahead and choose Heroku from our dropdown. And here we have to specify the schema and the table that we will be pushing into. So the table already exists, so I'm not going to have it automatically create. The operation type, we're going to go ahead with the merge with an existing update and insert. So we're going to do an upsert to our table in Postgres. Here you can see we also allow for pre-action and post-action SQL statements, a few advanced options, and we'll go ahead and hit next. And here it says we must select a merge key. So let's autofill with all of our fields. We'll go ahead and let's remove some of these fields that we're not going to map. We'll need this ID, budget, and currency code. We're going to go ahead and hit ID as the merge key, and we're going to rename this just so it maps appropriately to our Salesforce database. It's going to be deal size, and we're going to go ahead and your currency. You notice that we have the __ C here, meaning that they are custom columns, custom fields, I should say, over at Salesforce. We'll go ahead and hit save. All right, so we have our pipeline finished up here, and there's a few more things we can do before we run this job. So at the very top, we have a few other options. We have this one that says save and validate. So we'll go ahead and click that. What this will do is it will save your pipeline, and it will go through your pipeline just to make sure everything is valid. So if you're using any functions, just making sure that the parameters you're passing in match correctly, and they are in the data types that they should be. Mapping errors or typos, things like that. But everything looks like it's all good, so we'll go ahead and close this. Now that we've saved it, you can see here our rollback feature has been activated. So we do have the ability to save previous versions, and you can go back to them anytime you need. Okay, and from here we can go ahead and we can actually create a major version as well. And this will allow you to add descriptions when you create a major version. We can set variables up as well. We have any user-defined variables, which we're not using. But if you were to, if you're looking to make things a little bit more dynamic, you can definitely utilize that as well. We have a few system variables that you can edit depending on your needs. And from here, we'll go ahead and run job. So here it asks us to create a cluster. So what clusters are, they are the resource that we use over here in Xplenty to spin up and run those jobs for you. So we have two different instances. We have sandbox clusters and production clusters. So of course, production is great for once you've finished developing and you're ready to put something in production, we'll be using your production cluster. For now, we will just go ahead and use the sandbox cluster here. But you can see we have the automatically terminate clusters when jobs complete checked. And we'll go ahead and choose 1 hour of inactivity here. Go ahead and save that. And now we just have to choose a package. And of course, the package that we're currently in is the one that will be attached to this cluster. And again, you can make any last minute user variable or system variable changes that you'd like. Go ahead and run job here. Awesome. All right, while that's running, we're gonna hop over into our scheduler. So hop into the schedules here. As you can see, I have one schedule already made, but let me just go through, create a new schedule just to show you how that look like. So of course, we'd give it a name, and we can switch this on or off depending on if we want the schedule to run or not. When setting up a schedule, really it's as simple as choosing a number or whether you want it to run daily, hourly, minutes, every minute. And you have the ability to run concurrent schedules if you have more than one schedule up. Go ahead and hit next. And again, we can create a cluster at this level. So all the clusters that will be attached to schedules will all be production clusters. And we can add packages to this schedule. So we'll go ahead and choose Mysql to Heroku Postgres. We can choose a version of this package to run once this schedule begins. And again, last minute editing to variables there. And you can really add as many packages as you'd like to one schedule, and they would all run concurrently. A few other things while our job is running is our settings. So in our settings, a few options you can do is set up service hooks so you can get alerts to your email, to Slack, whenever a job fails or if it succeeds. Here we can also edit our members. We can invite new members just by typing in their email, and we can assign them roles. All right, so let's check on how our job is doing. Okay, looks like we've completed the job. So let me jump over to Heroku Postgres here. So as you can see, we have our data clip of what's currently in our Salesforce. This should update with a refresh, but as you can see, we have deal size and currency, both custom labels as null. So let me go ahead and run this query again here on Postgres. And once we get that run, it should update. Awesome. And now you see that we have our deal size column and our currency column populated with the appropriate and converted values, and as well as a currency all in USD. Awesome. Now let's jump over to our Salesforce. You can see our Salesforce, once everything updates and syncs over on the Heroku Postgres side, once I refresh this, these fields that are empty that you see there, like deal size and currency, should be populated. So let me go ahead and refresh this. And there you go. So we were able to capitalize on the benefits of the bidirectional sync that Heroku Connect utilizes, and leverage Xplenty to create more transformations that we then synced back into Salesforce. And that concludes part 1 of using Xplenty with Heroku Connect. Please join us again for part 2, where we will be using Salesforce as a source and sending data out to an external database. Thank you.